Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello from Mexico.
Hola.
Professor Morgan, nice to hear you.
It's always good to
Nice
see
you.
Great. We had a large contingent, and I'm trying to remember the name of the group, but they were educators from Mexican university, Mexican communities from all over the United States who are working with Antonio. And yeah, it was very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, I think in a few hours ago, you upload the picture in social media. That's a great picture. Yeah, it's a big number. It's a big number. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm wondering where, let's see, looking for all of our speakers and everyone. Morgan? Hold on just a second. Someone's calling my name. I'll be right back.
Testing mic. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Nice.
Hi, Depei. You can turn on your camera. There you go.
Hello, everyone.
Interesting backdrop there. Okay. See.
The recording is on. Can you hear me well?
Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, we can hear you, Aisha. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's wait for another minute.
Okay. And this is being recorded.
Yeah, the recording is on.
Hey.
Great picture, Depei. It's in Petra. Yeah, that is not a mistake, Petra. Right?
Before we get started, or as we get started, Depei, could you please share, unless you're already going to do that, how you chose to use that as your topic for today?
Morgan, can you say that one more time?
Oh, I hope during your presentation you will share how you decided to come up with this title for your presentation. It's rather engaging.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna share that with a couple of pieces throughout my slideshow. if you cannot find the answer, I will share a little bit more at the end.
I think it's time to start. How do you think?
So we're good to start now?
Please.
Yes, please. We are all excited to hear.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining me today at the City University of Seattle STC Invite talk. My name is Depei Song. Today I'm going to share the mistakes I have made in my IT career. Yeah, first of all, let me introduce myself with my IT career timelines. My IT career started with my Signal Corps officer in the Army Reserve, where I commissioned in 2018. I graduated in 2019. That same year, I started working as a business specialist at a CTU. That was not an IT role. I just want to point it out. But I utilize the staff benefits, which allow me to take 2 courses per term for free. In January 2020, I started my first class in Master Science in in Information Security, now, which is now cybersecurity. I took a military leave. In 2021, I took a military leave to support a mission in Jordan. Well, I was doing, my role was assistant IT manager. My responsibilities included IT equipment procurement and help desk operations. Notably, I completed my final course at the CTU while I was in Jordan, earning my degree in May 2022 and graduating in May 2022. Upon returning from Jordan, I secured a position as a network engineer. In November 2022, I received a job offer from my current employer, Asian Counseling Referral Service, or ACRS. It's a nonprofit health agency based in Seattle. My current title is a network and a security administrator. On the other hand, I still serve in the reserve as a knowledge management officer. I use Microsoft SharePoint, Power Automate, and Power BI to streamline some processes to improve productivity, as well as improve staff soldiers' data literacy. In addition to my work experience, I have pursued several IT certifications. Initially, I earned CompTIA Security Plus as a requirement for handling Army computer systems. Later, I pursued further a little bit more certifications to anchor my first IT job. I continue to study for certification to advance my career and maintain those qualifications. Last year, I earned Microsoft AC800 associate certification and the Cisco CyberOps associated. And just like less than 2 months ago, I was able to achieve CCNP certified as well. Yeah, it's true that once you start down the certification path, it drives you to continue both to renew your current existing credentials and to achieve new ones, aiding your career advancement. Any questions about my IT career timeline? Let me proceed. Okay, mistake, that's the theme of my presentation. You probably have heard this many times from your parents, friends, mentor, or supervisor. It's okay to make mistakes, and it is really natural for human beings to make mistakes. But the important part, you already know, is the second half. After you make a mistake, you want to learn from something from it. Learn from your mistakes. Here I have 3 quotes from some famous celebrities or people. I want to share those with you. I'm going to take a pause for you to look at it. Yeah, so Morgan, that's going to be my little bit my first answer to your question earlier. I wanted to share my mistakes is to help you students or my peer with their like career advancement for their next stop or their next job, at least to help everyone here to avoid making the same mistakes I have done before. Okay, so in the IT realm, it's really common or even inevitable to make mistakes because the system that we work on is really complicated and multifaceted. And also the impact of the mistakes we make has a huge consequences, and they're really easy to notice. A single misplaced space or a 1 digit off can yield a completely different result and then shut down the system or shut down the network or make your script inoperable. This applies to, I think, all kinds of IT positions. For example, a help desk technician I know who set the expiration date of a user account as August 2024 instead of August 2025. So the user were not able to log into their account or email, laptop. That simple mistake can result in that. I cannot speak more about a data analyst or a programmer. Could somebody else to share or somebody else you have seen a mistake like that or you have made you want to share at this moment? So the mistake caused a really bad consequence. Anyone want to share right now, or we can save at the end? So if you don't know this, what's the biggest mistake you ever made in IT? Your IT career is also a really common interview questions. I was asked this question before, and also I want to share my strategy how to answer this type of question at the end as well. Okay, so without further ado, let me share 2 stories from my experience. Okay, I'm going to talk about the background a little bit. So in the first few months when I was in Jordan, I was working as the IT manager, but I also handled a lot of troubleshooting tickets to solve clients' concerns and problems. First, because we were short-handed, we received like more than 20 or 30 tickets a day, but we only have 2 or 3 soldiers on the same team. On the other hand, I want to gain as much experience as possible to anchor my first IT job. That might be a bad decision to start with because in the military it's really a high tempo, has a really stressful environment. You are dealing with officer and high-ranking officer who do not know IT. For my technical background at that moment, I knew a lot of hardware basics and the troubleshooting techniques, but I was not like trained as a help desk technician. So when I was dealing with my clients, I used a lot of technical jargons. Also, there were times that I was preoccupied with like meeting preparation and other projects. I was not able to follow up with my clients, and sometimes I just ignore the phone calls. So that was the background of my first mistake. So later, as I prepare for interview questions, that's the question. What's the biggest mistake you ever made in your IT career? I realized that IT support or help desk roles are essentially about providing customer service in IT solutions. Looking back on my time in Jordan, I recognize that I provide a really poor customer service. I use a lot of jargons, and my customers couldn't understand. As I mentioned before, although I was a tech savvy, but I was not trained as a help desk technician that needs some levels of a customer service skills. I believe that happens to a lot of us, whether we're in help desk roles, software engineering, or security analysis. Your customer or your audience, who can be your supervisor or C-level leadership, they may not speak the same language as we do. So, my lesson learned is try to avoid using jargon when dealing with the customers, and be patient and be respectful with them. Just like keep telling yourself the system mistakes, system issues are not our fault, but we can make them up with our approach. Even though you cannot solve the problem right away, or but your customer can feel really appreciable even you are showing you are really trying. And about the customer service, we may not be as polished as the front desk staff or people in the hospitality industry, but it is essential to be courteous and respectful to your customers. And sometimes we have to depend on other people providing services as well. Like when you are calling vendors for support, you can tell when a technician who is a professional or not by solving your problem or answering your call. And we don't have to take some formal customer service training, because we all experience service every day, whether it's buying a cup of coffee or making a phone call to your bank, or just escalating the issue to the vendor or next level up. We can always learn something positive from them, and try to avoid the negative that you experience. So that's my first story. Anything that you want me to elaborate, or do you have a similar story that you feel the same way? Let me see if there's a hands up. Okay, no.
Oh, wait, I'll raise my hand. Okay, so Depei, one of the things that we hear from businesses, hiring managers, are the importance of those people skills. And what you just got done explaining was your realization of what a difference it makes when you're customer minded. And I know there's always a joke when you're having a problem. The first thing that Kirk here will do is we'll say, well, now, have you checked your connections? So when you learn this, how did you make a difference, or what did you do anything special to change your approach to customer service, you personally?
So my personally is I try to be patient. As I mentioned, I try to avoid using jargons. And so you are in the same level, put yourself down at the same level, speak the same language with them. And I made a big difference, like myself, that respect is mutual. If you respect to your customers, they also respect to you. I don't notice. You also put a smile on your face, and sometimes if you cannot solve the question, always follow up within the same day or the next day. You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference when the customer that responded to you. in the military, I think that's their culture. Because you are supporting people, you are like a service support. They don't care you. They don't always recognize you. But here, I mean, City University is a nonprofit organization as well. Like people want to give some like a token or during Christmas time, give you some snacks. I think that's in IT office, we always have that during Christmas. I think that's a way that they showed our the appreciation. That also a drive for you to provide provide a better customer services.
Thank you. And one thing from another, someone told me once, is that they often will keep a mirror near their desk or when they're on the phone or the computer, because if they see what they look like and they change their face, it changes the tone of their voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Let me continue with my second story. So here's a background. I earned my CCNA Cisco Certified Network Associate certification long before I landed my first IT job. So when I was hired, I was very eager to apply what I have learned from the books to real world situations. So when I first examined the network at my new job, I was shocked. So it's a completely flat network, no redundancy, no VLANs. So that's a jargon. If you don't know, it's a virtual LAN, virtual local address network, a local area network. So there was a lot for me to do. I felt I was ready to make a significant changes. I wanted to apply everything I had learned before and to improve the network's performance and the security. So after a couple months later, I had made numerous changes to our network. I was pretty excited. I think that was a big accomplishment. But after a month or two, we started experiencing network outages. The issue was pretty complicated. The outages didn't completely shut down our network. They came and went away intermittently, making it really difficult to diagnose the root cause. The now outage persists like 20 to 30 minutes. That window also really hard for us to troubleshoot as well. And neither my teammates nor the vendor could solve the problem. We even hired a company, a third-party company, help us to troubleshoot them, but the outages kept recurring, like almost every other week. As we struggled to diagnose the problem, I started losing my confidence. My colleagues also began questioning whether those changes I made in the past month were the cause of the issue. Initially, I was pretty adamant that it wasn't my fault. But as time went on, as the outage keep coming back, I start questioning myself. The problem even haunted me in dreams. Every time I complain or take it about the Wi-Fi speed or the network issues, I feel I was having a really bad heart attack. A few months later, while troubleshooting another issue, I finally figured out what had gone wrong. I had mistakenly put one of the internet service provider or ISP's IP address on the blacklist. So it was such a simple but a stupid mistake. When I told my director, he didn't even believe that was the root cause. But as the network outage stopped occurring for over 2 months, I finally regained the trust that I had lost. So that was the background. Here's my lesson learned from the mistake. So let's talk about documentation and the change management. So these are two critical aspects of our IT operations. When making changes to a system and network or the script you are writing, it's always recommended to document what you do like every day or each step. If something goes wrong, you can always refer back to the documentation and undo the changes, right? And the change management, of course, goes beyond just documentation. In large companies, there might be a board, a bi-weekly or weekly board. A board discuss whether the changes you propose is necessary to be made, and they have to hear they have to hear your backup plan or why you want to make those changes. Then you have to schedule a maintenance window and have a complete backup plan in place before executing the changes. And it's essential to follow those procedures. In my situation, if I had known the IP belonged to ISP, do you think I would put it on the blacklist? No. And if I had a chance to carefully read our documentation, such as the network diagram, I probably wouldn't do that, right? So unfortunately, we had a very few guidelines or policy in place. So we didn't have a network diagram include ISP IP address, and we didn't have a change management policy in place. That's one I want to point out. And if I were to do this again, I would draft a change management policy with my teams before making any changes to the network. So what's the takeaway for you when you start a new job? I know you're probably you will feel really excited to get your hands dirty, want to get hands on all the system or all the software application you want to work with. But please take a step back or take a breath. Use the first months to read the policy, the company policies, and the documentation thoroughly. All the changes I made to the network were fine, except for the one mistake of putting an ISP IP address on the blacklist. I made this mistake because that was the training I received. If we saw something on the firewall, like a tag put on the blacklist, I followed the a verbal procedure, but what I did wrong was documentation. I didn't document that on our logbook or OneNote or so. So that's are the two mistakes I want to share with you. Do you have any questions for me? I know I didn't disclose a lot of details, but did I explain everything good enough? Then I'm gonna share how I use these two mistakes to answer the interview question. And that's I put everything here on this slide. So that's the answer to my first mistake. I made a lot of mistakes in my IT career. Here's one of them. My first job, I was working help desk and providing IT support to 200 users. It was a high tempo working environment where we received more than 20 tickets a day, but we only had 3 people on the team. When I talk to customers, sometimes I use a technical term to explain the issue. When I feel under pressure, I lost my patience, especially when I found out that problem was something simple, like the monitor not being turned on or the power cord being disconnected. Later, while studying for the CompTIA A+ certification, I realized that most IT jobs are really about customer service. We solve clients' concerns and issues. We are not smarter than they are. We are just different expertise. It's important to use common languages when talking to customers so they can understand the issue. And of course, it's crucial to be patient and respectful. I learned those lessons and began providing better customer service. I feel much better now when I solve a customer's problem. I always remember this mistake because it was a milestone that got my professionalism and shaped my IT career. So when my strategy is, you don't have to talk about everything, what you did, all the details, but you always want to include the lessons learned. We have that interview question a lot. If the interviewer asks you, what's your drawback? What do you think you need to improve in your work? You always want to include the second part, what you have learned from it, what have you applied to make it better, to improve it. Okay, next one. This one, when I was hired by when I was hired by a small business, I was the only network guy. Upon checking their switch configuration, I found out that there was no VLAN setup. All users and servers were on a single network. There were no redundant links, and it was a pretty flat network with firmware that was outdated by about 2 years ago. 2 years. I was super excited to make changes. I redesigned the network with the 3-layer concept and created multiple VLANs for each floor and to meet the security requirements. I also stacked the access switch for simplifying management. However, a month later, our users lost their internet connection for 20 minutes. The issue reoccurred in the following week. Since the problem was temporary and our users were still able to access internal resources, but not the internet, it was difficult to troubleshoot. There was no clear pattern, and it happened about once every other week, making it even harder to diagnose. We even hired another company to help us troubleshoot, but they couldn't identify the root cause either. 2 months later, while troubleshooting another issue, I discovered that one of our SSP IP address was on a blacklist. After I removed it, the problem was resolved. The mistake I made was not having a change management process in place to document and monitor each change I made. If we had it done before, we could have identified the issue much sooner and reverted the settings. I learned my lesson. Not having a change management policy can cause network disruption. I quickly developed a change management policy and other standard operating procedures for my colleagues to follow, ensuring that similar mistakes would not happen again. So you can see there's a little bit different way when I describe the issue, describe the mistake I have made. Okay, that concludes my part of our presentation. I really wanted to open this floor to everybody on this call. Do you have any mistake you want to share? Maybe we can use your experience to prepare a interview answer. And just where IT people we want to see who made a bigger mistake.
Okay, Depei, what I'd like to do, and I'm going to ask that people take time to think about this, because we've all made mistakes, every one of us. The key thing that I'm seeing with what you're doing, and this goes to a behavioral interviewing format. Is everyone here familiar with behavioral interviewing? Just raise your hand if you are. You've heard of behavioral interviewing before. That's it? Just 3 of us? Depei, you can raise your hand because you're doing it. Behavioral interviewing is, they want to know how you are going to behave in the future. So they ask you to talk about an experience that you've had in the past. Now, could you go back to one of your slides? Okay, so, go forward now to that example where okay, right there. What's the biggest mistake and what you did? And I want to point this out to people when you do an interview. And by the way, since we have the time available, ideally everybody here is going to take some time to share something that they've done as an error, or as opposed to a mistake, let's call it an opportunity to learn through experience. But what Depei did was he shared a situation. And his hindrance was he's receiving 20 tickets a day. His action was, as he put it, he talked using jargon, and sometimes he would be impatient. And the result was he wasn't happy with providing the kind of service that he felt he was responsible for. Now, his evaluation of the situation was he learned, because of the CompTIA and some other work, is that customer service is very important. And so, Depei, it sounds like you did an evaluation of your service, and because you stood back and you took a look, you were able to change your behavior. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. I took
Okay.
the lessons.
Yeah, you learned through this. So the technique that you were using, and for some reason, I can't see my chat. Oh, there it goes. I'm going to put it in the chat for people, and it's called SHARE. And it stands for situation, hindrance, action, results, and evaluation. And one of the things that I've noticed about what you're doing, whether you're consciously doing it or not, is that you're looking at your situation, you look at what the problem was, the action you took, the results you got, but then you did an evaluation and you learned from the situation. And that is what most hiring managers are always looking for. They know we're going to make mistakes. But the idea is, do we learn from our lessons, and can we change our behavior? So this gives all of us an opportunity to be somewhat interactive. And so I'm trying to think of which of the mistakes I want to share that I've made. Does anybody here have something they would like to volunteer before we start calling on people?
We saw one and Thomas and Ty.
Okay, Ty, would you like to well, Ty goes by Lori, right? Lori?
Yes, but either way, it's not like he would have known.
Okay, so would you like to share something that was a mistake that you learned from?
Yes, but I believe Thaddeus had his hand up first if he wanted to go ahead and
Okay, Thad, do you want us to go first? I didn't see the hands.
I mean, yeah, sure. I was just asking how share is different from star, and I guess the evaluation part is part of it.
Yes, and so I'm going to put star in the chat too. And star is very popular, and so star stands. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, star is a situation, task, action, response, and it's basically the same thing. Share, it was a technique I used in multiple job interviews, especially when I worked at Amazon. They're huge into star. And the biggest thing about it though is it's a really, if you practice it, it's a really quick way to interview someone, and if you follow the outline of it, you can explain the situation, obviously, what your task was, what the action was, and then how you responded to all of it. But if you can get it down to like three minutes at most for the entire response, it shows that you can actually go through these type of interviews very well.
Yeah, and for a behavioral interview, and the reason I like share is that it gives you that bandwidth to say, as a result of what I did on this project, this is what I would do differently next time. That's your evaluation. So Thad, thank you for bringing up STAR. Okay, Lori, I'm going to go mute and let you, do you want to turn your camera on while you, is that a good idea? There you go.
Yeah, good idea today. All right, so one, thank you so much for hosting this and sharing your experiences. I had been waiting to attend this since it was posted in our classroom group chats, and being able to, you know, sit here and share your story about mistakes that you've made in your career. It really means a lot. So thank you all for listening to my little tidbit here. However, the biggest mistake, or one of the biggest mistakes I'd ever made in my career, was not researching the company. One of the interviews I had went to, and I applied to a lot of companies for work, and finally get an interview, and I overstudied for potential questions, for potential interview questions, but I didn't take the time to research the company. So it was like I overstudied, did more than what I probably should have done as far as preparing for the interview, because I neglected to research the company, not knowing that they were going to ask about, their website and what, the company is about, and how do I feel, the one big question, how do I feel my skills that I already have, how would they help out the company? I didn't know how to answer that. I know I came up with something. I didn't get the job, but I think, had I not had I studied just enough, gone through maybe a mock interview and taken the time to research the company itself, to be prepared for those kind of questions, I think I would have given myself a better chance, a fighting chance for the job role. That's my little story there.
Morgan, do you want to say something before I do?
No, you go ahead first.
Yes, yeah, thank you for sharing. I forgot it was your alias to go by. Yeah, that's
It's
a
okay.
really common.
Ty's fine.
Yeah, it's really a common mistake that we always made, that always forgot something when you prepare. I also remember this also one of your how do we make a successful IT role in any companies. One of the it also like a IT interview. What do you make yourself? How do you make yourself successful in the IT role? So you have to know the IT or the systems, something like that. You have to follow up the current IT technology. But one thing most importantly is know the business operation. For example, I'm in healthcare, so as a security administrator, I have to know HIPAA compliant. And if you are in like a finance, banking, there's a lot of financial term or something you will be interacting with. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Anyone else? I want to hear some like really technical mistake or error you have ever made. We have one hand up. Yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, I can go off on technical errors exactly like you were talking about. Far in the past, not reading the audience, getting very technical with the terminology, and I have been able to recover from it, but that took many times of making that error of getting far too technical with your audience and realizing that you need to read who you're presenting to better. So I used to get very technical with it, and it's a very long time ago on a web mapping system, but realizing that they don't need to know about the technical aspects of what you're selling to them. They just want to know like what value it brings to their company and why it's important that they be utilizing it. And I mean, that's just a different part though, of like you're selling it to them at that point. But if you're providing technical guidance, it still applies in a lot of the same ways of why is this important to me, and how is what you're telling me going to help me. And that's just something I found that I've made a mistake with many times, is not reading to the not presenting to the audience correctly.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Do we have any prior service for military students?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think in the military context, when you're briefing to a like high level or like a colonel or above, yeah, they don't want to listen those technical terms. They think you are a guy from a different world because the language we speak. Also, I think also in the IT world, even your supervisor or your IT department supervisor, they may not know the same language as you as we do. Given a really small example, like I think most of the students here, like computer science, coding, you maybe know one language, but you may not know the other one. That same applies to your supervisor who only know like language R, but not knowing like Java. Yeah, so know your audience, interacting with them, and what's the purpose or the intent of this meeting, if to sell them, to show the progress, or what's the project status. Yeah, to know your audience and try to prepare the meeting, even though there's a lot of them for us to go to. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. It's always about bridging the divide right there.
Anyone else want to anyone else want to share? Okay, Veronica. Yeah, please go ahead.
I'll share, but I'm not prepared to be on camera, so if that's all right. I have done a lot of IT consulting work in my career, and I can share one of those mistakes if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I was working with on an agile team with offshore developers, and we were doing a new software development. I was scheduled to deliver a demonstration to the client the following day, and I let a language barrier to receiving a thorough explanation of the current state of the product prevent me from being as prepared as I could have been for that demonstration. So I went into the demonstration unprepared for that gap between what I expected and the reality of the product at that point in time. So I was unable to perform the live demonstration in the client meeting. I did provide them with a brief verbal description of what I had planned to demonstrate, and I promised a recorded demonstration of the product within the next 48 hours to kind of make up for the lack of demonstration in the live meeting, and to make sure that they still received, make sure that I still delivered on what was promised. So, after the fact, I kind of learned that I needed to not let language be a barrier to stopping me from understanding what's going on with my team, and to always make a recording of every demonstration before I go into a live one, just in case.
Yeah, that's a really good one, a really valuable experience. I hope. Yeah, I think I will take. There's some takeaway for me, and I'll definitely try to avoid some situation like that. Yeah, I can feel you. That's going to be really embarrassing, and the whole team probably going to blame something on you.
Yeah, and I just want to, it's not a problem that's going to get any less common right now because we have so many global teams today that we have to get creative. If there's an accent barrier, a language barrier, an audio barrier, I don't know, of any kind, we just have to get creative and still find a way to work with everybody, meet them where they're at.
So I have a mistake that I made, let me see, back in April. We're a center of academic excellence, and we got our redesignation. So in my haste to share this information with our provost, I said, yes, the redesignation is in Louisville, and we get to walk across the stage, and it's important that you be there. And she showed up. I had not gotten a letter confirming that we were going to be redesignated in April. And when we came in and we didn't see our name on the program, they said, oh, well, didn't you get your designation letter? And I went, oh my God, I totally missed that step. And we're getting designated in October in St. Louis. So here I am with my provost who made this special trip. And I just said, I apologize. I did not take care of the details. I did not look at that. However, since you're here, let's spend some quality time together. And we went around and I found out what was important to her in terms of building relationships with community colleges. So I introduced her to the people from Spokane College, Highline College, Houston Community College, Riverside College. I tried to make all of the rounds, and we are going to be going to St. Louis in October. I looked for the letter. I made sure that was a detail I did not overlook. And I also have an excellent associate director who is much better at detail work than I am. I mean, I do a lot of different things. I have a lot of big picture. And one of the things I'm learning is that you build your team to make sure that all of your necessities, all of the skill sets that you need are present. We can't do it all ourselves. We just can't. And so I've found that learning to surround yourself with the right team is very important. And when you make a mistake, admit it. I mean, the less time you spend making excuses, the more time you can address the issue, fix the problem, and put in guardrails so you don't repeat the same mistake again. That's mine. Who else has something they would like to share? Come on, we've all made a mistake in the past. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, well, after so many years of work, I have so many stories, but one in particular is to not assume the background or technical level of the person that you're dealing with. So one example, I was in Mexico City doing a presentation to a number of technical groups there, and they had brought in a professional translator for me, which was really helpful. And so she wanted a little briefing before the meeting. And so I kind of went over my presentation and I said, there's a lot of esoteric language in here. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me about it. Because I was assuming that she was a linguist or had a language background. And then she said, well, when I did my PhD in engineering, I covered a lot of these things. So I think I'm going to be okay. So it was an interesting moment. We actually got along really well and had a great experience, but I just really learned a lesson from that to just assume that everybody you're talking to is, an expert and educated. And if they're not, then, you can adapt, but don't go in assuming that they don't know as much as you do.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Who else would like to share?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like professional environment. It can be like academic. When you do a presentation or team working, those script you write for your homework, that's a lot of mistake, right? You can also prepare those for your interview questions if you don't have any professional experience. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I just had a small story back when I was teaching kids how to. I was teaching kids in Code Ninjas. I was an instructor, um, teaching children from age 5 to 14 how to make video games. And when I started with doing the job, I got along really well with some students. And that one day I brought my coffee to work, and some of them wanted to try, so I had some share and I shared it with them. Well, it was pretty normal, but I got yelled at by the boss because, like normally you would share food with other people out of courtesy, right? But you're not supposed to do that in institutions or places where you are doing childcare or child education, because you never know. You're not allowed to share food with kids. Learned the hard way that day, and I thought I almost lost my job because of all that all the one sharing. So I guess you just got to be, really careful. Even though sometimes you may not really mean it, it doesn't mean that it is a good thing that you did.
That's Harrison.
Yes.
That's a, sometimes we don't always know the rules about sharing food, and we learn by doing. There is a very funny sign that I saw once, and it said, parents who do not manage their children, we will give them a cup of coffee and a puppy to take home. And and the coffee is because of the caffeine, which wires the children, and the puppy serves the parents right, because they'll never get it away from their kids. So those are very common, learning opportunities to learn. Is there one more person that would like to share before we bring this invited talk to a close? Oh, come on, someone's got to have one more.
I mean, I would love to share again about a lot of the things that were spoken about with working a help desk, and how it becomes difficult to temper your attitude towards people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just it is a very difficult job, and it's definitely, you do learn a lot about customer service, no matter how you don't think it's customer service until you realize like you've done it quite a while. And I too was also getting my A+ when I was doing a help desk, and it is a very difficult thing to understand that, you have to think about how other people are seeing the systems and why they're having grievances, and like the quickest way possible to understand like where they're coming from as opposed to where I'm coming from. Like, I can understand the entire system, but if I can't connect with them at where they're having an issue, you're going to spend all your time just talking to people for hours on end. And it really comes down to like the simplest things of, is the computer on? Can you connect here? Does this work? If these things aren't apparent, like if you can't communicate that to them, it's never going to matter about whether they want to use your system or not. They're just too irritated and frustrated to continue the conversation afterwards. And I made a lot of those same mistakes myself when I was working at help desk too. And it only took like a few months to figure out like you got to do a better job about this, and this. But if you get like 200 calls a day or 200 tickets, it's pretty quick that you understand you need to like make changes to do your job better, I guess. I'm not sure that's a great story though.
It is, and I want to share something. Depei mentioned that you went to Jordan intentionally, Depei, to get time on a keyboard. Remember? That was your motivation?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I want to put a plug in for something that we're trying to integrate into our courses and push out to all our students. And that is, we're encouraging people to participate in competitions like the National Cyber League, because it gives you an opportunity to learn and make mistakes in a safe environment. So this is my plug for everybody who's here at STC and attending this, to sign up for National Cyber League. And you can come to the Cybersecurity Club, or you can email me if you can't find the Cybersecurity Club on the STC C4CYI website. It's just that we really want to encourage you to practice and make those hands-on mistakes, because not all of you can deploy with the Army Reserve to get the valuable experience that Depei got. Unless, of course, you want to recruit people, Depei. And Lori, you have your hand up.
Yes, I guess just one story I remember from when I was working at a distribution company doing data entry. I was putting in pricing or cost for a salesman. I was efficient. I got everything. I got all my work done. However, I found out that I was off a zero, and I cost him quite a few hundreds of dollars, and thought I lost my job that day. However, they worked with me as far as they know I can do the work. I've done a great job. However, sometimes it takes that extra minute or two to double check your work, because had I did that instead of going with the flow and completing the process without checking my math, I wouldn't have cost this salesman X amount of money. I still get shy about it to this day, because I'm like, I can't believe he could have fussed me out. He could have, they could have said I've got to pay him back what I cost him, but they didn't. So I don't take their kindness for granted. However, hard lesson learned. No matter how good I am at a task, to always double check my work. So that's my mistake there, and the lesson that I learned.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So
I'll agree with that one right there.
it's coming up on the hour now. Ashi, are you available to close out the session?
Yes, I am. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We enjoyed this session so much. Thank you, Depei, for your insightful talk.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. looking forward to more STC invites. Maybe I will attend as audience next time.
Yes, please. You're welcome.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, once again, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.